Hi, and welcome to Bath's Teams Conversations. This will involve me and a couple of ambassadors discussing various topics around university, such as what is university, looking at applying and choosing a university, as well as talking about what life is like at the University of Bath. This video's topic is something that a lot of students worry about before coming to university, which is student finance. We'll be talking about what it was like sort of handling our own finance for the first time, tips about finance such as how to budget, as well as the sort of support that you can get from universities such as scholarships and bursaries. We hope you find this video useful. I'm Callie Rice and I am the Student Recruitment Assistant here at the University of Bath, but I myself was a student here for 4 years and I studied biology as my undergraduate. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Mackyla. I study social sciences at the University of Bath. I'm currently in my 3rd year and it is my placement year.
Hi, my name's Sophie. I did my undergraduate degree in Modern Languages and European Studies at the University of Bath. I'm currently doing a master's degree in European Studies, also at the University of Bath.
Hi, my name is Natalie. I'm a final year natural scientist. Physics is my major and chemistry is my minor, and obviously I study here at Bath.
Do you guys have any sort of main tips or advice that you'd give a student who is about to come to university about how to sort of handle their finances?
One thing that I found really useful before coming to university was the student finance maintenance loan calculator. So before I came, I wanted to know how much maintenance loan that I would be getting because I wanted to get a job at university, but beforehand I wanted to know how much money I have to spend on things like accommodation, food, all of that thing. So you can go on the government website, I think it's on SFE, and there's a calculator that tells you, it basically calculates your household income, things like that, and it tells you how much money you're going to get for each year of study, and then after that you can budget basically for your whole 3 years.
Generally just think about the different expenses that you might have, so just to kind of think, yeah, you're going to have to pay for your rent, you're going to have to pay for food, if you have a phone bill you might have to pay for that, if you do any hobbies, if you intend on eating out, just have a general think about all the different things that you're going to spend money on, and then I wouldn't get too stressed about it, because lots of students manage their finances and it kind of it works, but I think that really what's important is to remember that there isn't one way to do it. There isn't a magic solution for everybody that works. It's different for everybody. Lots of students are in the final year and still kind of working out what's best for them, but I think it's mostly important to think about what you want to spend and how much money you need. So if your student finance, for example, doesn't cover what you expect to spend, then think about getting a part-time job, or think about other options that you have like bursaries or scholarships, or reducing your expenditure. So I would try to just kind of, take a step back, don't stress too much about it, it's all going to be fine, but also be realistic about it. How much money are you going to spend, how much money do you need, and what can you do to change that situation?
I think that's a really important point that Sophie's just made, be realistic. So you go from probably at college where you live more than likely you live with your family. You don't have to pay rent. I'm very lucky I didn't have to pay rent at home. And then my expenditure was just going to the pub or eating out, going shopping. It was really nice, quite content. And then you come to university and all of a sudden you've got rent to pay and food to buy. And I think you need to set yourself expectations of what free of those lovely things you could do at A level that you might have to slightly sacrifice. No one's saying you can't go to the pub, but maybe you can't go to the pub every night. Maybe having some beers at home, make that a bit cheaper for you. Don't buy a new outfit for every night out, you can't afford that. And then sort of going from first year to second year where I lived in halls and my rent included everything, so bills, water, gas, electricity. And then you go into your second year house where your rent covers your rent. And all of a sudden, you then have to find some more money for water bills, some more money for electricity. And if you haven't, again, adjusted your finances for that accordingly, that's going to come as a bit of a shock to you. And yeah, OK, it'll take a few months to rectify, but realistically, it's not the end of the world. And one thing I would say is Banks give undergraduates an interest-free overdraft for a reason. They understand that your student loan's probably not going to cover everything that you want to do. And while getting a part-time job is ideal, with a course like NatSci, you've got 9 till 6 days, pretty much every day of the week for your first 2 years. And it's not always practical, especially with having to work outside. So I wouldn't be afraid of using an overdraft if you absolutely have to. Obviously, it's not ideal, but like use your summer to build up some money. So like rather than just going home and doing nothing for 3 months over summer, get a part-time job. You can get yourself a little pot of money that can go towards next semester, so that if you really can't work in semester, then you've at least got something to fall back on.
Obviously, there's times in life where you might need emergency money, so make sure you do have some money saved up. So yeah, again, just be realistic about what you're going to be spending money on, and also if you did want to join like societies and sports at university, there might be hidden costs for those as well. So it's really just like researching what you're going to be paying for. If you do have a niche hobby, like researching beforehand whether you're going to need to pay for the facilities for that sport or society. So yeah.
If we just go back a step, like how do students actually finance their studies? So every student in the UK is eligible for a maintenance loan and a fees loan. So one of the loans covers your tuition fees for the university, and the other loan is for you to pay for your rent, your food, and all those different things. So the one that pays for your academic fees goes directly to the university and you don't see that. And then the other one goes straight into your bank account. So for a lot of people, this is the first time in their life that they've had like £2,000 directly sent to their bank account. And it can be really, really tempting just to be like, okay, I'm going to treat myself to lots of things. It can really, really tempting. But I think like Mackyla's just said, it's really important to think about, okay, that £2,000 has got to last me for 3 months. I need to pay for my rent. I need to think about food. I need to think about lots of other things. I need to have a little bit left over just in case for the future. So yeah, I think that it's really, really important that you don't get too carried away with this money, but also don't stress yourself out and don't ever let finances be something that would stop you coming to university. And the university also offers advice on these things, and you can always ask somebody and get a bit more professional advice from like the university on how they can help you. So there are they do bursaries, scholarships, and yeah, you can work for the university. So we're all employed by the university, and as a student ambassador, it's a really, really good job because you get really flexible hours. You can sign up to what fits around your timetable.
I always like had my student loan amount and knew how many months rent that was meant to pay. So that was the first thing that came out, and I'd put it in a separate bank account. So I had like my current account, and I had with a completely separate bank, so I couldn't even see it, savings account, and then just transferred like the day before my rent was due back from the savings to my current account. But yeah, like initially you sort of don't know how much a food shop's going to cost you. How do you ever know that when you haven't done one before? And exactly. Like, yeah, in your first week, you might go and buy all these really nice things like steak for dinner. And then actually you realise, again, that's not a student budget, like maybe for a treat, but realistically get back to your pasta, things like that, take it a bit more simple. So I think you sort of find your way.
You're not an expert when you start.
More with time. Yeah. But I'd say even like in my final year, this is my 4th year of uni now, and I still mess up sometimes, but that's okay, it happens. Yeah, it's all right.
I think a lot of people also don't even realise how many different options that are out there. I hear so many people saying like, I didn't know that was a thing, or I didn't know that scholarship existed, or that bursary existed. But I think one thing I would definitely say before you go to university, do your research, check online, see what you're eligible for, and you'll be really surprised what you might be able to get due to your circumstances. So, because I'm from a low income family and I went to University of Bath, I was able to apply for a scholarship at Lloyd's Banking Group. So this scholarship supported me throughout my 4-year degree. I received financial aid. I also got the opportunity to do an internship every summer at Lloyd's Banking Group. So I got to work in London, which was incredible. I had my first insight to the business world. And as both of my parents they do kind of more manual jobs, and they didn't really know this sort of professional environment. They just kind of had knowledge of a different area. So this was the first time I'd ever seen this kind of world, and it really opened up my eyes to kind of all the different opportunities that I could have. And then because of that, I went down a similar area for my placement. So yeah, it was a really, really amazing opportunity. I also got to go to lots of different kind of scholarship events. So the University of Bath hosts alumni events. And as a scholar, I was invited to these events. So I got to meet some of the royal family. I got to go to places all supported by the university. So it was just really incredible. I just think for me, I got to see things that I'd never seen before and learn lots of new things. Neither of my parents went to university, so they weren't really able to support me in that area. So I feel like by getting this scholarship, it filled a gap that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
So the scholarship's sort of there as financial support, but I suppose that's all people really see it as. You don't really realise there's all that like professional development.
Definitely. I would say that the financial support was obviously incredible. It lifted a huge weight off my shoulders, and it wasn't something that I ever had to worry about. But I think probably what was the best part was this professional experience and the support that the university gave me. So by being able to work in London and have that experience, my first internship, and I did that in my first year of university. So not a lot of people do that. And it does put you at a really good competitive edge in the future. So from that, I was then able to get a really good placement. And then it led me, down different pathways. So without doing the scholarship, I wouldn't have ever had that. And I got to meet so many nice people. And we did lots of different residentials through the scholarship and lots of different meetings where we built different skills and like life skills. So yeah, it was just all around a really, really good experience being a scholar.
When I applied for the disability students allowance, I had to pay like £200 for a new laptop for all my software to be downloaded on. So obviously I was in first year and I was struggling already with my budget. So I applied for the hardship fund to repay the £200 because obviously I didn't really have it at that time. So that was really, really helpful as well. So the university is always there if you are struggling with anything like that. It's like you don't have to be embarrassed about it, and it is all confidential obviously as well. So
I would just never let finances be something that stops you going to university. I know that a lot of people kind of maybe hear from their parents like, oh, university expense is expensive, you might get in a lot of debt. But I would definitely say that this is kind of a myth in a way that it's not a debt like you'd think it would be. Nobody comes to knock at your door at the end of your degree and demands lots of money. It's really not like that. You only ever have to pay back your student debt when you can afford to do so. And I think that the careers opportunities that it opens up for you and the different pathways that it opens up really, really, really are worth this kind of imaginary debt. Because you learn so much about yourself, about your future career, and you also get to have an amazing time whilst doing that.
My brother graduated and he said to me, just see it as like an additional tax. Don't see it as if you've got this huge debt lying over you. It is just like an extra tax on your paycheck every month. Sometime, like obviously when you start earning above the threshold, but just not that noticeable. Like I wouldn't, I agree. It's not something to base your decision of going to uni or not on.
Yeah, I agree. So like I would never, I wouldn't let finances put you off going to university. I'm the same as Sophie, so I'm the first person in my family to go to university, and my parents didn't really understand like the process for going to university and how student finance worked or anything like that. And obviously there were a few myths around that it costs a lot and that you're going to be in debt for the rest of your life. But now that I'm at university, you never really think about it like that. So yeah, it is just an additional tax really.
And you really get an insight to kind of the opportunities that you're opening by like making that step of going. You can really see that like this is a good decision and that there's so much more exciting things waiting for you once you graduate.
Yeah, and it's sort of nice to learn all of these like budgeting skills while you're like sort of cushioned like by your university and like finance. Whereas like if you just got on a job and all of a sudden you've got all these bills to pay and you don't know how, it's like a nice like safety net almost doing it at uni, and then you'll be equipped when you graduate.
It's really middle ground. experience being an adult by trying out all these budgeting things, but then at Christmas time you can still go home and dinner or whatever. So.
Amazing, great. Well, thank you very much, everyone. So today we just sort of talked about finances, a little bit about generic sort of finances at university. I guess the main measures from that was sort of make sure you plan your finances, maybe budget if you can, think about part-time jobs and maybe cutting out some luxuries potentially from your finances, because obviously rent is the most important of them. And also touched upon not worrying so much about finances, because actually now that we're students here, we haven't really been concerned about finances since, and if there are any financial worries while you're at university, there are support services available for you, like the hardship fund, or you might be eligible before you come to university to apply to things like bursaries or scholarships.